When I was learning my first foreign language, I remember the exact moment that I stopped translating in my head. It felt like a giant switch had been flipped. Suddenly I could think in the language that I was learning without running everything through English first. That is the real secret to fluency. It is not about cramming endless words. It's about shutting off that little translator up here. But most learners get stuck on this point. They just can't switch off the English voice in their heads. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I broke through that wall and the simple steps that you can use to finally start thinking naturally in your new language. And look out for an exciting announcement I'm going to be sharing a little bit later. First things first, stop beating yourself up for translating. It is not a mistake to translate. It is normal. Translation is inevitable. When you start learning a language, your brain needs a bridge. So it grabs English and it uses it to make sense of the new stuff. After all, English is what you already know. And that's fine. If someone says something in Spanish to you suddenly, of course, you're going to try and make sense of it in English. That's how you figure out the meaning and the grammar. And here is where it can even help to translate. Now, linguists call this contrastive analysis. It's a technical term, but it's what happens when you compare your own language with the new one that you're learning. How is it similar? How is it different? You're sort of sketching a mind map in your head of how the language looks. Take word order, for example. In English, you say, I eat bread, subject, verb, object. In Spanish, it's the same. Yo como pan. Pretty much the same. There's no big surprises, but in other languages, it might come out as I bread eat. Turkish, for example, does this. Feels a bit backwards, right? Your brain then desperately wants to reshuffle it to put it in the order that you'd expect. In English, here's the thing, translating is like training wheels. They're great when you're starting out, but you don't want to ride with them forever or even for very long. Once you move past the basics, translation stops helping and just holds you back. And if you're still translating every word at an intermediate level, well, you're never going to break through that intermediate plateau. You will always be a step behind because you're relying on English, stuck in your head, shuffling words around. And by the time you've worked out what's being said in the conversation's already moved on to something else. And language just doesn't work like that anyway. Language is full of rhythm, nuance, slang, jokes, all these little quirks that make every language come alive. And you just can't translate those things into English. Believe me, if you try, you will miss all the good stuff in the language and you will always come across as a learner or a foreigner. So if you really want to break through, you've got to get comfortable with a bit of ambiguity. Ambiguity is such an important word in language learning because you need to be comfortable with ambiguity. You've got to be comfortable not knowing everything, not understanding everything. If you insist on knowing every single word that you hear, then you'll lose the big picture. So here is my 5-step strategy. First step, you've got to stop obsessing over single words. Your job is not to memorize a dictionary, it's to notice the patterns that make the language tick. And every language runs primarily on patterns. It's the way that verbs are formed, the little words that always tag along, the phrases that people use on repeat without ever wondering about what each individual word does. In French, for example, one of the most common little phrases you'll hear is il y a. Word by word, it means it there has, which in English just sounds completely nonsensical, but in French it just means there is or there are. If we try and translate it, it makes no sense. But if you just accept that it is what it is, this fixed little unit, il y a, then once you know that, you know it all goes together, you stop worrying about it. So the problem is, if you only focus on the individual words in any phrase, you end up translating them one by one, and that's where things break down. That's why you're slow and frustrated. It's like trying to watch a movie by pausing on every single frame, which, let's be honest, ruins the movie completely. And it's the same in conversation with real people. If you're constantly translating words, you're not having fun. You're just kind of buffering and no one wants to chat with a human loading screen. This was me when I first started out in living in Paris. I managed to bluff my way into a job at a youth hostel where I had to speak French. I didn't speak much French at the time at all, but I was 19 and I didn't care. So I found myself in this situation, and from day one I was having to answer the phone in French. People would walk in off the street in French. My boss would come and ask me, and I was struggling. But I couldn't afford to just sit there trying to translate every word. If there was a word I didn't understand, I couldn't say, excuse me, would you mind repeating that so I can just quickly look up that word in the dictionary? You have to focus on the transaction. What's the person trying to get? What do I need to do? The only thing you care about there is the outcome. If someone's trying to book a room, then I'm just going to get them that room booked. I don't care about the words that they're using. And so this is when I really discovered the importance of focusing on the outcome or the meaning, not the individual words. I had no choice. And the other thing is that you need to train your brain to treat the new language as something that carries meaning all by itself, not something you even have to decode. So it helps to think of words as concepts. So don't think that the word amor means love. When you hear the word amor, think of the feeling of love. Start to associate the word with the feeling. It should trigger the emotion for you, not the English word translated above it. Or if you learn the word orso in Italian, don't think bear, the English word. Just picture the thing in your mind. Start to associate that with the word orso. Let the word link straight to the image in your mind. Now look at this funny little character here. It means elephant in Japanese. And when you see it, are you going to think the English word elephant? Oh, I hope not anymore. See, once you start learning word patterns like that French one that we spoke about earlier, ilia, or the strange word order of Turkish or Japanese, it all changes. You don't need to understand every single word anymore because you already recognize the structure. And that's the big idea here. Learning a language is really teaching your brain to accept new patterns as normal, not to fight back against them and ask, well, that doesn't make sense. How do you say this in English? And with enough exposure to the language, everything stops gradually feeling foreign and starts to feel normal. It's like you're rewriting reality in this new language, as long as you're open enough to accept it and let it in. So if you want to apply this in a new daily habit, then instead of looking at single words, instead look at patterns or phrases or even sentences and ask yourself, which of these am I likely to actually want to use in my daily life? Is there a topic here that I'm always going to want to talk about? Is this a phrase that comes up often? Start to look for these patterns and try to, instead of being this passive learner, instead make active decisions about what you want to learn for your life and start to notice where there are patterns elsewhere. And if you want to speed up this process of letting the language in and becoming fluent, if you're tired of feeling stuck and want to finally break through, imagine having fluent conversations just 10 weeks from now. Well, that's exactly what happens inside our Story Learning VIP program. It's our premium 10-week coaching system built on our famous story learning methodology, the same one that you see in our books, where you learn from stories, not rules, and you get speaking confidently fast. So instead of struggling alone, wondering if you're even improving, you have a dedicated coach who knows exactly where you're stuck and guides you past every obstacle. There's no more wasted time on things that don't matter. You'll focus only on what gets you speaking confidently, quickly. And when doubt creeps in, your VIP team keeps you moving forward. Plus, you're surrounded by learners just like you who celebrate every breakthrough with you. The best part? You'll actually complete a full level of our story learning curriculum with every mistake corrected, every confusion cleared up. In just 10 weeks, you'll go from hesitating to speaking confidently, joining any conversation. And we guarantee your satisfaction on this program, but spots do fill up fast because the results speak for themselves. Click the link below and you can see what Story Learning VIP is all about and begin your breakthrough today. Here's one of the most underrated skills in language learning: noticing. Most people think that fluency comes from endless practice, but practice only works if you're actually paying attention. Now, here's what I mean. Imagine you see a new pattern or phrase in your textbook. Then it shows up in a conversation, and later you hear it again in a podcast or a movie. That's when your brain goes, hang on, I've seen this before. It must be important. Better save it. Like you save an Instagram image or something like that. That's how a pattern moves from something that you studied to something you can actually use. And this doesn't just happen when you're sitting at a desk. You can train yourself to notice patterns everywhere. Subtitles in a movie, lyrics in a song, a line in a storybook, and these same phrases popping up in a Netflix series. Each time you catch one, the connection in your brain gets stronger. So don't just skim your material. Look out for the echoes in the language. If it's in writing, circle them, highlight them, repeat them, and then try using that pattern yourself. Because the moment you pull it out in real time, even a quick chat with yourself, it starts feeling like your own words. And English takes one more step back into the shadows where it belongs. Now, a simple daily habit you can try here is to watch a show in your target language. Something simple, and don't try to understand everything. Just write down one phrase that you recognize. And the next time you watch something in that language, see if it pops up again. TV series are great for this because the characters tend to recycle the same lines. It's how I pretty much learned Cantonese in the early days, by just watching this one mega series called Triumph in the Skies on repeat over and over. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. Learning single words is slow. Don't do it. Instead, focus on learning whole phrases, because phrases Well, they come ready-made. They carry the grammar, they carry the word order, and the little glue words you never think to add if you tried to build a sentence from scratch. We don't want to be hoarding random words. We want to be thinking in complete sentences or units of meaning. Take English, for example. If you learn the phrase, I'll get back to you, you're not memorizing 5 separate words, are you? You're not gluing them together one by one. You just know this chunk of language, I'll get back to you, because you said it a whole bunch of times and you can whip it out and use it whenever you need. If you learn it word by word, you actually shoot yourself in the foot, because those exact words might not make sense in another language. I mean, get back. What's this all about? And this is where people trip up.
Tu vas manger? Non, je suis plein, c'est bon?
Well, he just said he's either pregnant or drunk, and that's what happens when you want to say you're full. So you look up the French word for full in Google Translate and you get plein. But plein does mean full, but French people don't use it that way. A bus can be plein, a glass as well, but a person? No. They say they ate well or not hungry anymore. See, you should have just learned the whole phrase. Don't worry, I've made my own mortifying mistakes more often than I can think of, but you can unearth those yourself elsewhere on this channel. By the way, there's a trick for when you get stuck and can't think of a word you need mid-sentence. It's called paraphrasing. And paraphrasing is one of those skills which, if you can develop them, it gives you a huge amount of flexibility in a language. And it works where you have something you want to say. The words just don't quite come to you and you're getting frustrated because you don't remember that word. Instead, if you can have the presence of mind to express it in a different way and muddle your way through somehow by saying it in a different way, that gives you a huge amount of flexibility in your language. So if you don't know the word for nephew, for example, you say my brother's son, or the son of my brother, or brother's son, whatever, it doesn't matter. Finding that way through. If you can't remember the word rainbow, just say colors in the sky. You get your meaning across and that keeps the conversation going. And the funny thing is, you already do this in English. When you use it in your new language, it's brilliant because you teach your brain to keep rolling, to keep moving in full sentences instead of stopping to translate. And just like step 1 with the elephant, tie a whole phrase to a feeling or a moment and your brain won't bother running it through English first. Your daily habit here is to set yourself a paraphrasing challenge. Pick one thing that you don't know how to say and explain it in the simplest way you can. Keep those full sentences coming. Inside our VIP program, for example, we basically live here, so you'll get plenty of practice. Here's something that took me many years to figure out. Study and exposure are not the same thing. And if you treat them the same, you will just drive yourself crazy. Study time is when you sit down with a book or a lesson and actually pay close attention. You look for patterns, you pause, you analyze how the language works. That's where you dig into the details. But exposure or input is completely different. It's where you let the language wash over you. Movies, music, conversations, and you stop worrying about every single word. You just let your brain soak it all up. When you watch a movie in your new language, that's not study time. It's exposure, and the whole point is to switch off the pressure. This is why I'm not a big fan of studying actively with movies. They're not meant for that. It's not convenient to be rewinding all the time. So the whole point is to switch off that pressure. You're not supposed to understand everything. In fact, you can't. There's just too much flying at you. What you can do is tune in, chill out, and let your brain just soak up the rhythms of the language. Catch phrases you already know. Notice the sentence patterns and let the rest just drift past. It's fine. It's like putting the language on in the background of your life. You know what I mean? The more hours you log like this, the more natural it starts to feel. So a daily habit for you here, this is a fun one. Pick one room in your house, say your kitchen, and make it your target language zone. When you're in there, everything happens in that new language. In fact, I know some couples from different language backgrounds who practice their language, different language in specific rooms of their house. It's quite fun. So if you're in the kitchen and you're washing the dishes, that's your Portuguese zone. Stick up some YouTube in Portuguese right there, and then you start to make that association. You can even give yourself a new inner voice like I do. You tell yourself, okay, my brain speaks Portuguese now, and run your thoughts in Portuguese, ridiculous ones especially. One day you'll catch yourself doing it automatically, and that's when you know that it's working. Now, something most beginners don't realize is that language isn't just one skill, it's 4. It's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And if you lean too hard on just one of those skills, you end up lopsided. The thing is, if all you ever do is watch movies, you'll get decent at listening, but not much else. If you only ever read textbooks, well, you know all the grammar rules under the sun, but you won't be able to have a conversation. The magic happens when you mix them all together, because every time you see the same pattern in a new place, your brain goes, it's this again. Better hang on to that, better put it in my back pocket. It's like hearing the same song on the radio at the gym, in the cafe. Before long, you just know the chorus off by heart, even if it does annoy the hell out of you. Listening tunes your ear and gives you pronunciation. Reading builds vocabulary. Speaking forces you to react on the spot and to develop fluency with no time to translate. And writing just slows everything down so you can really see how the language fits together and gives you time to really think and experiment. So your daily habit here, each week, pick a skill that you usually ignore and do something tiny with it. If you never write, well, try scribbling a 2-sentence diary entry every morning. If you never ever speak, fire off a quick voice note to someone you know, or download the Langua app and start talking with AI for 5 minutes. Rotate the skills like this and you'll start spotting the same patterns from every angle. Now, VIP program, for example, your coach can actually make sure you get all 4 skills into your personalized learning plan. Again, it's one of the benefits of having that focus. Listen, if you accidentally order 11 chickens instead of 1, or proudly tell a Swedish person you bought them poison because you translated this word completely wrong, well, you'll probably fly past the learners who are too scared to ever speak, because every time someone laughs at your crazy mistake, your brain locks on to the right phrase. And next time you won't translate, you'll just say it the right way. And if you want me to show you the exact 15-minute language routine that I use every day to practice this for real, then go and watch this video right here. It blatantly breaks all the usual teacher rules, but that's exactly why it works. Go and watch that now.